name is Kenzie and welcome to this watercolor tutorial where we're going to be painting this fall wreath. If you want to just worry about the painting itself and not the sketching, you can go below to the link. It will take you to my website where you can download the ebook and the sketch to paint along with me in real time. Now let's get started. So this right here is my Winsor Newton watercolor paints that I have taken from the tube and put it inside this palette that I got off of Amazon. I have a tapping cloth right here. It's always good to have one. That way you don't have excess water on your page. I also have my 2 water cups right here. One I use for cool paints and one I use for my warmer paint colors. I also have right here my dryer. I like to use this to speed up the process between layers. These are the brushes that I use. These are the silver black velvet. I have size 12, 4, and 8, and these are the round tip brushes. I'm using this painting as an example. I always like to have painter's tape on hand. I like to paint down my paintings. It's easier to 1, film, and 2, also just keep everything from moving around and it getting a little messy. It also helps to protect your desk, which you'll see mine is very worn. So it definitely does help with that. Let's have some fun with this one. So my first recommendation is kind of figuring out what you want your color combo to be. That way we can have some complementary colors. So I have right here my color wheel that I'm going to look at before I get started. You can Google one if you want to have reference to it. So because I'm doing some fall colors, I definitely want to stay within the warm color zone. So I'm thinking of doing a lot more of my orangey florals, but then my complementary colors would be, I want to stay with my blues and my purples as well. So this is definitely the colors that I'm going to be playing into my piece. So to get more bright and vibrant colors, you're going to want to have less water on your page, or in your palette I should say. And if you want more vibrant and bold colors, you would just have less water. So I'm going to try to pull a lot of pigment onto my palette here. I did have a lot of water already on my brush, so it's taking a hot minute to become very vibrant. I'm going to clean off my brush and then I'm going to grab some of my cadmium yellow. I need to go and actually buy more of these. I ran out of my tubes. I have to go shopping and grab some more color. It's running a little low. So just take a minute and you can just mix up some of your colors. That way you just have it already in your palette. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to speed up my video and then I will join you when I have some of my colors already in my palette. Okay, so I just mixed up some colors right here and I'm going to get started on my, let's just do our big flower. So I'm going to grab this orange and I'm going to come in. This is the wet on dry technique that I'm doing right here when I'm applying wet surface onto a dry surface. So once I have this petal down, I'm going to come in and kind of scoop any excess colors towards my center, and then I'm going to come in with a darker, more deeper, richer tone, and I'm going to tap the center. This is called the wet on wet technique when you have a wet surface on another wet surface, and I'm going to let that blend out. I can even bring in some of that tone a little bit towards the top and just let that blend out. So because I want each petal to look like its own petal, I don't want it to look like a blob in my page, I'm literally just going to be skipping around. Otherwise, what just happened with this red and orange will just happen with the petals and everything will just bleed. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to skip. And I'm going to add, dragging that deeper, richer tone towards my center. I'm going to put this color down and I'm going to scoop towards my center. So I actually already have a lot of paint on my brush, so I don't actually have to dip it in. It's already doing it for me. So I'm just using that excess, the excess paint on my brush. I have a little bit of a watermark right here, so I'm just going to use another brush to kind of scoop it up. Okay, I'm going to come in towards my center, letting any extra color kind of puddle towards center in here. Can even tap the top a little bit so you have a little bit more shadows. And you're going to fill out this flower. Tapping your center. So now I want to make sure that everything is drying. I'm lifting up some color here. And I'm going to dry this just so I can move on with the rest of the painting. If you don't have this, just give it a couple minutes and it should dry pretty quickly. And now that this is dry, I can come in and you'll see that it's touching the other petals on the other side and it's not bleeding into it. It looks like its own petal. Even when you overlap the two colors, it starts to darken where it touches. That's actually called glazing, fun fact. And I can start to fill these out the same way that I did before. Okay, so now that I've filled those ones out, I'm gonna start with my center. So I'm gonna come in with my yellow and I'm going to, yeah, literally just kind of create a loose circle. And you'll see here, I have not done a circle with all of my petals as well. It's kind of like just loose shapes and I'm leaving some white space. I'm not completely filling it in. I'm fine if there's some gaps. That just also helps with the depth within your painting. And I'm going to add a little bit of touch of orange in here to blend with the white, the wet on wet technique. Yeah, leaving white space just helps with depth and dimension within your page as well. So it's totally fine if you have some of that going on. Actually, I would kind of recommend it. So again, I'm just going to be adding some orange in the inside, letting that naturally bleed and blend. I can even add towards my outer part right in here, just to give my centers a little bit of depth. I have a yellow orchid as well that's really pretty that I can put on the inside of my centers. I can even mix that with some cadmium yellow as well, just to make it really rich. Yeah, that looks really pretty. All right, and I'm just gonna let this dry. I'm gonna do my wet on dry techniques, all of my details towards the end. I'm the type of painter where I like to just get all of my first layers down first. So now that that's my first layer, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on to this flower. Sure, and I want this one to be purple. And I'm just gonna do the same technique with all of the flowers. I'm gonna put down my color that I like. But with this one, since it's such a large petal, I'm gonna grab, whoops, a different brush and I'm gonna literally scoop up. So I use water, I touched my napkin, so it's just damp, it doesn't really have any color. So I have a highlight and then I'm gonna touch my centers with a rich color, with that color we already put down, so it's got lots of pigment. I can even touch the edges while it's still wet, let that naturally bleed and blend, and then you'll have a really pretty picture. So again, I'm gonna put down my color, putting it towards my center. I'm gonna get that rich color, I'm gonna tap it in towards my center. I can even tap while it's still wet my edges. I'm gonna get rid of everything on this other brush and I'm gonna scoop. So I have a nice highlight. I'm gonna let these two dry and then I'll come back again, because again, the wet on wet technique, if I was to put down another purple right here, it would just explode and I wouldn't have those nice crisp lines right here where they look like individual petals. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have the same color on the opposite side. So I'm gonna do the same technique with the same color. Now obviously you don't have to do the same colors that I'm doing. You can make this as colorful, as bright, as vibrant as you want it to be, or as dark as you want it to be. These are just kind of the colors that I was feeling at the time. I'm going to do this one. And I also have this outlined. You don't have to stay within the outline either. You can, as long as you are going a little bit darker than the ink, you can paint over it and kind of make your own strokes as well. And I'm going to come in and add my shadow. And this one's pretty well dry, and I'm going to fill out this one. So this flower right here, it doesn't really have a center. It looks kind of weird. So what I want you guys to do with this one is I want you just to leave a little sliver of white space. So you can tell the difference. This one had a circle, this one does not. So for this one, just leave a little bit of white space and we'll come back to it, but literally just do the exact same thing that we were doing before. Just come into the center where it is right here, just darken it up, but definitely just leave that center just a little bit open. And we'll do a flower where it looks like it's a petals kind of covering the center. Okay, so now that I have those two colors down, I can move on to some of the other bigger flowers. And for this, I'm going to do kind of a more yellow tone as well. I'm gonna rinse off my brushes. And it's literally just the exact same technique of what we've been doing before, putting down the colors, and then you can also scoop up if you would like, but it's just filling in these colors with whatever makes you feel happy. Okay, that was fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this little flower right here. You probably looked at it and been like, oh, what the heck is this? So this is a different type of flower where it's supposed to look like it's on, uh-oh, smudged it, on its side. Trying to decide. Okay, I think I'm just going to do yellow. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to start from the center, and then I'm going to kind of wave my brush and kind of just fill it out. And then I'm gonna let this dry. And then I'm gonna come around on the other side, fill it out, and bring it down towards my center. And this is just supposed to just be a different perspective of a flower. I'm just gonna add some petals to the side. Okay, so now that we have all of our first layers down of our flowers, and most of them are dry, we can come in and fill the centers. So I want this to really pop, so I'm going to come in and just grab a little bit of indigo, some black with a little bit of burnt umber for the centers of these flowers. So the key here is just leaving some white space as well, because you don't want it to look like a blob. So for these black ones, I'm going to come in and I'm just kind of going to blot around a loose little oval, but I'm going to leave that center part nice and open. I'm going to grab some black. I'm just going to touch the edges with some black so it really stands out. I can even do some little blots and dots around it, filling that into my flower like that for my centers. I want the black to kind of bleed a little bit more. Okay, and then just repeat this for all of them. So I'm gonna come in with my grayish bluish color. I'm gonna make, again, a rough oval, leaving a bit of white space. I'm going to come in with my black, coming around the edges so that we can do that wet on wet technique. Just have a little bit of a darker tone to it. We can come up and just add some little dots around the very tip of our brush. and repeat. So I have a little bit more water on my brush. That's how I'm able to go around and fill out these other ones. And I'm going to let those other ones just dry really quickly before I come in with my black. And then I'm going to do my little lines. Touching the edges. And then for this one that's supposed to look like it's kind of curved in, again, I'm going to leave some white space in the center, and I'm just going to use some of that black. And I'm not going to touch this petal that's blocking the center, and I'm just going to do some of those lines coming from it, but making sure I'm leaving some white space. Okie dokie. And then this little flower I'm gonna leave. Okay, so for these 1, 2, I'm gonna leave those centers because I'm gonna have them be green. What I want to do is I want to just do a little bit more detail in some of these florals. So coming into the center on these ones particularly, I'm gonna add a different color. I'm gonna add just a few streaks coming from the center. Just like that. I can even come up on some of the edges in these, and I can blend out and just have some streaks coming from the outer parts, just to really make them come to life. I'm gonna add, especially for the bigger flowers, I'm gonna add a little bit more detail in them. Coming in towards my center, flicking outwards. And this is called the wet on dry technique. This is when, again, we are applying a wet surface onto a dry surface. The colors will literally just sit over top, and this is how you can create some depth and dimension within your painting. And I'm doing smaller little lines and details for the smaller petals, but I'm going to be doing larger brush strokes with obviously the larger petals. That was a little too big. Go blend it out. Again, we can add some of those details on the edges. I want that to be darker. Okay, and then the next thing that we're gonna do is I have some little red cherries we can just fill in. And again, I'm just gonna leave a little bit of white space just because I want there to be a little bit of depth to it. So now it's the fun part, and this is when you can really just make your painting come to life. We're gonna be adding some of our greenery around it, and we can do some free-handed flowers. So this probably just looks really random, but now it's time to add some details. So I've already mixed a little bit of my green color that I like. I liked I put some sap green, indigo, and there's a little bit of cadmium red in here. So I'm going to start following along my penciled line right here, and I'm going to come off of it and I'm going to add some nice leaf shapes, and I'm going to do this all the way around. And I'm going to be changing the different colors of my greenery. Putting some reds inside of my colors. I can even come away and do like little branches coming up from it and filling out those. Just really trying to make this as full as possible. Making little leaf shapes. And the cool thing about these greeneries as well is you can even come in the same as before, and you can tap in different shades of green to just really change how these leaves look. You can still do that scooping technique as well to give some of your greenery some highlights. You can really just have fun with this like the other part of your painting as well. I'm going to add a little bit of green into my orange. Again, following along with my pencil marks. And if I block this way, it already just looks so full. And I'm trying to just go the same direction of my green. So you can move your page around as well if you need to. I'm just gonna lift up some of my colors. I can add in some different shades here as well. So this is the part that some people might struggle with. They might try to make every single leaf and brush stroke look perfect, but at the end it all kind of just comes together and looks really pretty. So try not to get in your head too much about how all of this is looking. And then at the end we can make changes if you feel like you need to. So again, some cadmium red, some sap green. I'm gonna put a little bit of hooker's green as well to make it nice and dark, and I had indigo in here as well. I'm going to switch brush sizes as well. Oh, I smudged it over here. Ah! I'm going to have to clean this up with some clean water and some, there we go, and absorbing it onto my napkin. Okay. See how just scooping it really does change the whole vibe and the look of your greens as well. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. I love scooping. Okay, I keep smudging colors over here, so I'm just gonna dry this section with my dryer so that I can stop doing this. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing all the way around, so I'm gonna speed up my video. That way I can get to the fun part. Okay, so now that I have all of my first layers down, you can completely leave this how it is. You can see already it's super full. I'm just gonna add a little bit of greenery to this one just to kind of help it blend in a little bit more, have a little green coming from it. I'm gonna make it be a little bit darker just to pull this in, and then I'm gonna add, I think I'm just gonna do a dark center on this one actually. Okay, so at this point, I do only have one of these little cherries, so I want to just incorporate, I think, a little bit, I don't know, maybe one more. I want to have it be coming from this little section, and I'm just going to do little baby ones, just a couple, not that many. I'm going to freehand these ones because this part is optional. It's just kind of looking around your page and then seeing if there's anything missing. I do like to work in groups of 3, so because I have 2, it's kind of throwing my eye. So I'm going to add another one over here. And again, I'm going to do a bit of a medium one. Grabbing some red. And then if you want to, you can keep going. You can even add some flyaway leaves from here. Ones that are kind of coming from it. If you have any areas that just feel a little flat, just add some leaves. You can even come in and you can add some veins on some of them, but this part has to be dry, otherwise you won't be able to see them. But you can definitely come in and just add some veins if you like. And then just looking around, seeing if there's anything. If you want to freehand some flowers, maybe over here we can practice adding some flowers if you'd like. Some baby ones. I don't know, just practice all the techniques that you've learned. Make it come and be super full. So yeah, there we go. Here is your fall beginner wreath. I hope that you had fun learning about mixing in your colors and just making a wreath appear more full. So if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd love to paint with you again. Check out my other videos on my channel, and happy painting!